All right, it is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Central Time. That means office hours here on the Academy. Hello, Mr. Andrew. How are things?
I have to say, they're pretty good. I think that we're past the 90 degrees in October days. Fall seems to be happening. The house has already been filled with beef stew. We're counting down the hours pretty much to get to MMS. I'm pretty happy with what's going on right now. How about yourself?
I agree 100% except one thing. I went out this morning, t-shirt. It was like 44 degrees. I'm like, no, no,
That's fair. That's the other side of the coin.
I'm gonna need a jacket.
It was very nice this afternoon, though, I must say.
True. All right, enough weather. Let's get this one rolling. Do you have any news for us?
I've got a couple of things that I think are share-worthy today.
I will share your screen then.
All right, perfect. Thank you, sir. First thing I came across is another tool from Ugur Cook, who has, last counting, like 68 community tools now, it feels like, over the last year and a half. But this one is primarily focused around documentation in Intune. I thought this was pretty cool, especially because it was so easy to get going. So if you browse over to intunedocumentation.com, and up here at the top, you will see a sign in. You go ahead and sign in with your account that has Intune permissions. If you haven't already used the app, you'll be asked to provide some read-only permissions into your Intune tenant. And look what this spits out. Just a very nice, easy to read list of settings, catalog settings, configuration profiles, some update policies and things like that. I do appreciate this is often the case when Ugur releases a new tool. I read that he had about 1 month of preview, so I imagine a few people in the community were helping him test this out. And what I expect we'll see is a couple of additional resources that get added in here after the fact. But it's not just having this nice web UI. You can also just select all of these configurations right here, click export, and export as a PDF or a docx, Word doc. And it's going to give you a nice output right here with all of those different resources. So documentation, very important. This is another tool in the toolbox for documentation. There are a couple of other solutions out there, but I did like how quick and easy this was to get going. So very nice. This one might be the most important bit of news, I think, this week. Johan, I know you were pretty excited about this. Microsoft released some new application icons for Microsoft 365 last week.
I've been waiting so long for this.
I knew it. I just knew it. They do look nice, but you know, I was a little surprised. We were getting some new icons again last week. Nevertheless, I do point this out because you may want to update your deployments in Intune and ConfigMgr with the new icons. So these are out there now. Defender as well got a new icon. I think Intune actually got its, I remember Intune icon being announced a few weeks ago, maybe. But that's going on. This was another laughing because there was no excitement that I saw anywhere about this one. But if you haven't seen the news, the M365 companion apps, which are the People Companion, File Search Companion, and Calendar Companion apps, Microsoft is going to start rolling out automatically unless you opt out. My personal opinion, I don't know why I wouldn't opt out of this, because my users have Outlook and OneDrive. But Martin Bankston did write a nice blog post here on if you do want to roll them out yourself You can do that through Intune this way. And I won't spoil all of his blog here, but go to it if you want to do that. So you can deploy those through Intune, or if you scroll down to the bottom here, you'll also find the setting that you can find in the M365 Apps Admin Center to go ahead and opt out of these coming down to your devices automatically. I don't know if you want to share your opinion on that, Johan, or I imagine an agreement.
Very much in agreement. Don't see an immediate need for this right now. For the blog post, yes, but for the solution, no.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Thank you, Martin, for writing that out, by the way. Last but not least, too, saw a new post from Paul Winstanley and Niall Brady on how you can use a remediation to grab health logs from the Windows app from a device. So put simply here, if your Windows app is detecting a health issue, it is logged in a specific directory on the device, and you can pull those logs in through a remediation if you have users that are connecting to Windows 365 VMs, for example. So I thought this was very useful. This is something that I've played around with. Windows 365 is something I've been able to play around with a little bit more recently. So I've been trying to gather up some of these tools as well. So thank you, gentlemen, for putting that together. That was what I had for this week.
All right. Thank you, sir. Go ahead and share my screen here. Right, let's see if I can hide yours. There we go. This look okay?
It does. Looks like a little PSADT.
Indeed, we are wrapping up. We were wrapping up module number 4 this morning of our free PSADT course here on the Academy, and we were joined by, as I've been calling him, the other Dan, but Dan Goff, because there are 2 Dans on the same team. It's like getting confusing. But he took us through migration of version 3 PSADT packages into version 4.4.1. So that was a fun module. We'll get the recording up later tonight. For those of you who haven't seen it, let's open up a private window here so I'll get it without my login. But long story short, this one is going strong, free to attend. And we have just completed this one here that I mentioned earlier. We will have a break for MMS, and then we tackle the last module in 2 weeks' time-ish, give or take. There we go. And October 23 is the last one. But it will be available on demand, and the first modules are already to get with the lab guides. And it's one of the first times, no, not one, the first time we actually include lab guides in any of our community offerings. So that was pretty cool to put together. So that was what I was doing this morning. On the other news side, you didn't mention the live AMA, did you, this week?
No, I forgot about that.
Yeah, me too. I almost felt embarrassed this Monday. I was like, well, we're going live. It's like, what is going live? But this is. So anyway, the Intune team with Jason Rosak leading and Mayan here, moderator, Matt Call, that's funny. But anyhow, they did an AMA. It's available live. We can check it out. But this is just fantastic Q&A session. Ask Me Anything is the acronym for. But so. And sometimes the questions are as valid as the content they were presenting, sometimes even more. I really like that because people would think about something and ask about it, and you, oh, I didn't follow that.
Yeah, and I did notice, even though that's already happened, I see in the description there that the Q&A is actually open until the 10th, so there's another day or two that questions can be asked.
Yeah, absolutely. And they started to do this for the technical takeoff. They didn't do this as long, but they had the Q&A open for like 24 hours, where they still have folks from the product group sitting there and hammering replies to questions coming in.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That is dang nice. It is. All right. Then I stumbled across a PowerShell version of a pretty popular Python script for patch management. So this one here, Fabian put together a PowerShell module that pretty much did what the old Python script do for patch compliance or the monthly reporting of patches. So if you haven't checked this one out, highly recommend doing so. It's pretty cool. Yeah, he done a lot of work porting that one over. It's not a small script, put it that way. All right. So that was all I had in terms of news. I have been playing around a little bit with the Windows 11 25 H2. We had a pretty long thread going on yesterday on Twitter, or X, regarding the ability to continue to use a local account. Because apparently Microsoft made an announcement that said, no, you'll only be able to use a Microsoft account and no more local accounts. So we're removing some abilities to do that. That might be true, but that will be for the home edition of the product. If that happens, the corporate versions, Pro and Enterprise, they still have it. And just to prove a point, that I did verify that and actually did a little video of it. I haven't released it yet, but it's coming. Because a good friend of mine, Mr. John, was asking in the forum, like, all right, I didn't see an option to do this. And it's like, oh, there is one. I have it right here. I was actually testing it because I was afraid there was a change in 25H2 that I missed, but nope, it still works the same. So that will be released hopefully either tonight or tomorrow morning, one of the two.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, bring the popcorn. It must be solid minute and a half long.
Oh, you'd be surprised on how much popcorn I can eat in a minute and a half.
Talent of yours that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
Well, they have, hot dog contest. Why not popcorn eating contest? There must be one.
Exactly.
All right. Total sidebar. Do we have any questions?
We do, and thankfully it looks like our chat is working here this week, which is very helpful. So a couple of hellos. I see a comment in here on the PSADT course as well, that it's been a great course. Happy to hear that. I know you and the team have been very, very excited about it, Johan. So happy to hear that the momentum and excitement around it has continued through these modules.
Yeah, it's crazy. It officially passed now as our most attended course ever since we started the Academy. We are coming up now on 2,000 people taking a look at it. Like, dang, that was a big interest.
Amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So Benny has a comment here around feature updates. Have feature updates deferred by update rings. Recently, some machines got upgraded as the deferral limit went over. Is a feature update the best way to prevent machines upgrading and to force a version? We're trying to avoid moving to 24H2 yet and to stick with 23H2.
I mean, if you are having issues with 24H2, most of them have been sorted out by now, by the way. It's still supported for another year if you are an enterprise in education. So it's from that point of view, it's okay to stay on it. If you have a feature update rings, and we discussed this must have been a few weeks back now, but if you set that target policy to that, there is also another policy that we shared where you can prevent it from going any higher. That seemed to do the trick. You remember that conversation, Andrew?
I do. I can't think of because what I would normally do is I would have two different policies, right? One for the feature update that I want most of my devices to stick on, and then another one that has whatever the one that I want to upgrade to for some amount of devices. So really the way that I've been controlling it is just through 2 different feature update policies in Intune. So I think that's probably that's the conversation you were talking about a couple of weeks ago. I think when Zach was asking about it.
Indeed, and we have someone commenting here also, and
yeah,
feature update policy is the way to go to that one. So.
Yep. So that's exactly it. And the last couple of years, I mean, I've seen a couple of organizations get bit by this, where if you don't have that feature update policy assigned when the new feature updates start to roll out, ask me how I know. I know a few people that magically got 25H2 last week, and it's because they didn't have a feature update policy explicitly assigned to those devices. So, yep, absolutely. Stick with those policies, and they should operate that way.
Yeah. And if you do have devices that starts to get into like a wee bit of trouble, then you can't really explain why they got an update so far, just make sure that they actually are enrolled into the deployment service, that your tenant is enrolled into the deployment service, because the feature update policies in Intune are part of that framework. We have showcased a couple of times a script here from Brian Dam. Not sure why it did that, but if I go over to one of my Intune clients, I think this one is still happy. Let me reconnect so it will. I love this desktop manager, by the way, from the Evolutions. Free version available, but if I borrow a PowerShell prompt here and run that script from Mr. Brian Dam, Intune update device info, he calls it. The first time you run it, it's going to take like 10 minutes on a new device, and that is because behind the scenes it is actually installing the graph module. And if you haven't played around with the PowerShell module for Microsoft Graph, it's a bit of a big module with like 78 some sub-modules. It's a big one, so it takes a while to install. But anyhow, when you run that script, you can prompt for a computer name, and it will immediately tell you whether your tenant is reasonably okay and whether the device is reasonably okay. I have not seen this anywhere else but in that script from Brian Dam. So if I scroll up here, I can show you, it tells you very clearly that, yeah, this tenant is indeed enrolled into the deployment service, and more important, the device is also. So not only will you be able to see the normal update rings, that there are other ways to see those through Graph, but what I really like here, it will also tell you if this particular device is part of any sort of feature update policy. So really useful little script. The trick is typically finding it. I don't think he ever blogged about it. I just stumbled across it when one of our classes, really, I stumbled across it. But if you borrow that script name and head over to GitHub.com search and punch it in, Google typically fails on this one, but this one has been solid. You will find that one code snippet that references it, and that's where you can download it from. So thank you, Brian, for fixing that one. I'll probably owe you a beer or two at MMS if you're going, but this is good stuff and very related to the feature update stuff.
It's funny, I remember the first time you showed that in a class or something like that. I was like, what? Where? To your point, where did this script come from? I never saw this. It's fantastic.
I think I know the story behind it, because Brian was one, together with David from the UK, was one of the early adopters of the driver control plane mechanism in Intune. And I did presentations on it at MMS together with Aria on it. And that platform is also using the deployment service. So I figured out, that's probably the reason, because I mean, if you guys haven't seen that one, a bit sidebar, but it's pretty cool. It's not as good as if you would have like a ConfigMgr platform where you can push out things when and where you want it. But for being a first attempt of having driver management from Intune, it's 2 years now in the making. It's not terrible. As long as you organize the devices correctly, it is not terrible. But if I go to my updates here and head over to driver updates, this is where I typically would organize them in a per model approach as you do. And when I click the drivers that are available, it says drivers. It really is BIOS and drivers, so firmware and drivers. So here you can see I have a firmware update available for Dell, for example. And I can go ahead and say, I want that one to be approved at a given time. You can have automatic approval as well. I wouldn't recommend that, but you can script this. So you can have your own little release rings for stuff that you want to have. You can even do pilot groups if you want. This is good stuff. Yeah, anywho.
Awesome. Well, the good thing is, Benny, it sounds like you're on the right track. And I've seen, like I said, I've seen this many, many times. Having the update rings and the feature update policies, I think, can add a little bit of confusion. Just know that you basically have to configure both of them. You're on the right track, set those feature update policies, and you should be good to go.
All right. Awesome.
I got a question over here on Twitter. Why would you not have automatic driver approval?
Well, I wouldn't dare to blame any vendor, but Realtek, their drivers are not the best. They're network drivers. There was an issue a year and a half ago when they released a network driver that was suboptimal for the purpose of being a network driver. And when you break networking on X thousand devices, it's troublesome to fix them, unless you really like running, because that's what you're up to. I forgot who the comedian was. I was listening to a session with they were talking about running, and the guy, there was someone in the audience that basically said, I run a lot. I ran a half a marathon this morning, and the guy like, why did you stop? Why did you run only half? But anywho, USB stick and book it. That's how you fix those. So no, I like to have a controlled release of drivers. I wouldn't mind doing it maybe to pilot devices. I would accept that, but I like to test on a couple devices first. When I see that they actually work, all right, push to everybody else. And drivers are not updated that frequently. It's not like we have a monthly patch Tuesday for drivers. Some models you will get, if you're lucky, if you get a driver update a year. Sometimes it's more frequently. But quarterly updates is usually fine for drivers, unless there is a driver that I actually do have a critical fix to it or a security risk to it. But then you might have to approve it more quickly. Over the years, there have been drivers that had like really, really bad security risks with them. I have to be mitigated like yesterday.
Yeah. Heck, sometimes you don't see it as much on the enterprise side, but even on the consumer side, you'll see hardware be released, and then that's it. Those are the last drivers you'll ever see. Or sometimes you'll have that, and then 5 years later, one of those issues will come up, and all of a sudden we do have to release some drivers. But it does happen on the enterprise side as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyhow, long rant for a short answer, or the other way around, short question, I guess.
Oh, that's great. All right. So let's see. Amir just wanted to give a heads up. We found that some devices failing Autopilot also couldn't reset and got bricked. They were all MDT wiped to out-of-box experience. Thank you, Johan. With BIOS set to RAID, missing storage drivers in the fresh WinRE. Interestingly, devices that finished setup reset fine because it seems like Windows updates WinRE with the needed drivers after setup. We fixed it by adding a task sequence step to copy WinPE drivers and update WinRE locally. Somehow the injection step failed in the task sequence, but using setupcomplete.cmd to mount and update WinRE got it working pre-desktop environment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are two things to this. First, friends do not let friends configure biases for RAID, period. Use HCI for those, and a lot of these issues automatically goes away. It is not terribly complicated to patch WinRE after the fact, or just verify that it is done. What is scary with WinRE and WinPE in general and storage drivers is something that I didn't fully get the grasp of until about 2-3 years ago ish. 3, I guess now. Even though this post is for WinPE, this is also for WinRE. The order in which they are injected matters. That just didn't compute with me at all at the time, but after learning what the different vendors had to do to fix this, all right, fine, that's the reason. So this blog post will take care of that part. But that's why, for example, HP, they started to name their drivers with a prefix, a number, because when you use ConfigMgr, it always injects them in alphabetic order based on its folder name and the source. So if you ever stumble across that, for example, where you have a VMD driver has to be installed after the non-VMD drivers, otherwise it will not work. But again, you can solve that problem by simply making sure your BIOS is configured correctly, and that's something you can do post-install also. I have yet to see an issue converting RAID to HCI after the fact. The other way around, would not recommend. But Rudy, however, has a post on WinRE and drivers. Maybe drivers with 1 R in the end. Here we go. So this is a brilliant article explaining the problem. And there are some sample scripts and commands down the road here that you can leverage to do it. Just make sure that you actually have, make a backup of that file before you start to make changes of it. Yeah, so it's not too bad to mitigate. But you can use the same techniques to just do a review. Do I have any machines out there with RAID configuration? If so, do they also have the right drivers in it? So run a report there.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We got another question here on YouTube, driver related. Is there a way around not having a driver update tab in Intune like commercial, or just use third-party driver management?
I mean, it's a truly optional configuration. It's something you have to actively opt into and create those policies. Otherwise, there won't be any updates. I would not recommend that the legacy driver update, it was basically an on-off switch, and then devices will just pull drivers left and right from Microsoft update. That I'm no big fan of at all. But I mean, to a point, you can have a PowerShell script. You can even have an application in Intune that does driver updates. I mean, if I would go over to, say, a ConfigMgr environment, let's see. like this one here. And let me reconnect that one. I managed to resize the window earlier, and that come with a consequence. Apparently, I was editing a report. I do not need that one, and get away. Let's see here. I have too many windows open. I mean, we often have sequences that we push out or add into existing normal sequences. Their only goal is to update drivers. So we have a PowerShell script that connects the ConfigMgr. In this case, it's from Morris Daly. He is, by the way, he just approved the 25H2 PR. He sent an email about that. And he's working on updating the driver automation tool for 25H2 also.
Nice.
I'm assuming for MMS here. So he said Friday, and Friday is coming up soon. So that is good news. But behind the scenes, this script just downloads a driver package and runs PnP util behind the scenes to install it. It's not rocket science to do the same thing in Intune. You basically have two options to install those drivers. One is to use that utility, and there's also a classic utility, as I call it, but it's been around for a while, called PnP unattend. But both of these can be called through a script. And it can be as simple as a one-liner like this, or a bit more fancy with some logging to the mix, but it's so easy to do. So if you don't like the control plane that Microsoft offers for drivers, or if you just have that one model you need to fix and you have to do it like now, create an app and deploy it, and it will update. Don't forget to reboot.
It's important.
Yeah. Anywho.
Amir just had a follow up here too on his situation. It's a great tip, but unfortunately, these devices came with RAID set from the manufacturer.
Yeah, they should have a scolding for doing that. What I found over the years is that if you buy enough machines from a vendor and don't mind giving them a couple of extra bucks, you can have them do BIOS changes for you, assuming you tell them.
Right. Do you know why they default to RAID if all it does generally is cause us problems?
I guess it's the same reason we have the crapware in Windows. There is a marketing department involved somewhere that said that. From a pure performance point of view, if you squint your eyes super hard and do all possible tests, you may get a fraction of a percent better performance in some edge cases. Your users won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah.
But anyhow, there is no reason.
Yeah. It's always seemed like the juice isn't worth the squeeze on that one.
No. Unless you really like troubleshooting, then it's brilliant. But if you want somewhat happy users in the end, or at least don't want to have to put out fires all the time,
yeah,
stick to the function in BIOS configurations. Yep.
Awesome. Hey, look at that. I recognize that name popping in here on LinkedIn. Nate Zienert joining us.
Hey,
he said fun
Nate.
Fact. Yeah, just talking to him a little bit ago. Fun fact, peek below the hood of most individual driver packages from the OEMs. It's PnP util all the way down.
Yeah, either that or the good old, what's that executable? dpinst was part of the driver installation framework.
Oh, yeah.
You can often see in Intel's wireless drivers. They have it. Or at least back in the XP timeframe, I still see it being used. Apparently, it still works. And then we have the good old devcon utility. They even made a 64-bit version of that one. So that's a command line version of the device of, well, it's a command line version of this, that utility. So pretty awesome.
Amazing how some of these things persist for so long.
I mean, I bet you 2 decades from now, when we are grumpy old men, at least one of us, we'll be still doing stuff like that. It's not going to go away.
I'm sure you're right.
Reduce the numbers, perhaps, but it's not going to go away.
No, I'm sure you're right. And I think we'll both be grumpy by that point.
You're trying to catch up on me? All right.
Yeah,
Challenge
exactly.
accepted, yeah.
Did have another question over here on Twitter. Intune versus GPO for Defender on hybrid devices. I mean, for a lot of these things, so if we're talking about like a co-managed device, a co-managed and a hybrid joined device, I've been doing my best to just default to Intune for a couple of reasons. A, that's where the development efforts are. B, depending on which part of Defender you're trying to configure, the experience and the settings that you can actually configure are much more rich in Intune than they are in GPO, or definitely in ConfigMgr at this point. But I've just been leaning towards that direction. Sure, GPOs still absolutely work on hybrid devices, but if you have any need or desire to head towards Intune, endpoint security policies like that are a great starting point in my view.
It's not just a richer interface, it is also the way policies are enforced and applied to devices, and that you actually get a warning if you do something not so clever, like pushing the same type of policies to the same devices.
Yeah.
Active Directory won't tell you that. Sure, you can see it on the device, you can run a DPResult and you see like, okay, this policy was the winning one, but there is like no central console that will tell you how it actually went.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you push it out and you hope for the best. But I hate to break it to you guys, if you're new into IT, group policies, they can be corrupt. Happens.
No, say it isn't so.
No, sir, it's honest truth, and it's hard to find them.
Yeah.
You basically have to run scripts to detect that, because again, there is no central feedback in the same way as you have in Intune for policies. Plus, it's nice being able to have just one platform to deal with policies and not two of them. I mean, obviously, down the road, it would be nice to get rid of AD as an identity platform also, but that is a longer journey. Policies in that regard is an easier transition. And yeah, long rant.
You did just actually remind me, and I think I saw you retweet this as well, and I haven't digested all of the documentation, but Microsoft did put out some guidance on switching from Active Directory over to Entra.
Oh yeah, Nathan, I published it first. Do you have it up on your screen?
I do have it up.
Right. Coming up, sir.
So I think this is the main point here. The document provides a strategic and technical framework for IT architects to shift user and group management from on-prem AD to Entra ID using source of authority conversion. So, like I said, I haven't digested all of this yet. I think there's quite a bit in here, as well as several gotchas if you want to go through this right now. But this tells me that Microsoft is really pouring some serious effort into this. I haven't seen a a large identity move in the hybrid space like this in some time.
But this is brilliant and a timely fashion too, just in time for upcoming Thanksgiving here in the US to discuss with family and friends over dinner table.
That's right. This might be one of my favorite parts. Do you have apps using Active Directory? No. And then on-prem Exchange has its entire own part of the flow here. No? Go ahead. Just use this. It's fine. Always something with on-prem Exchange.
Yeah, pain is usually one of those things.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
So no, I'm glad you said something that triggered this reminder. I'll make sure this gets shared as well this evening.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty hefty documentation.
Yeah, we can read perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Can read it on the flight.
I was just going to say
MMS.
That. Yep.
All right.
So Sean is asking us over on YouTube, is there an Intune equivalent of GPResult, seeing what config profiles and settings are applied on a device?
Well, in a way, it's nothing that you run on the client, but since the clients are reporting out that data, you have it in the device information itself, but you also have it when you look at the policy, you have the device and even down to per device settings and whether they have been somewhat happy or not so happy. Do you have a device up you can possibly share?
Probably.
Or a policy?
Let's check.
Just a couple. All right.
Yeah, just a couple. Actually, I wonder if it would be easier to go through one of the more recent devices. Let's see here. Let's try one of these Autopatch ones. Checking here, I assume?
Yeah. So that would be your kind of resultant set of policies.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the tool from OnePetri, the Intune device details.
Mm-hmm.
A remarkably good tool that not only gives you what stuff that has been assigned to the device, but also some status for information you won't see elsewhere, including application installations, stuff like that. So really good utility. So, I hope that answered the question. I mean, you can open up the register and take a look also on the client. Many of the policies, there is an MDM provider, the WMI bridge you can ask for policy settings as well. We use that, for example, for DU settings all the time to figure out exactly what's on the device. A healthy dose of PowerShell, you can see that. So there are options. I might have an example. Let me poke around for a second before I share my screen.
Looks like I have some troubleshooting to do over here too. So got an error on one of my policies.
Would never.
No.
Never.
But this is just as you click through, to your point, you can go and see the status of the specific settings themselves. So I can actually drill down and see which setting is having a problem. So you do get a little bit more information as long as you're willing to click through here.
In my hunt for a script that I stole honestly from Gary, Mr. Gary Block.
I love the Johan script hunts. They always end up with something, but the amount of scripts that you've got stored there is impressive.
Only a couple of thousands.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Over a long and storied career.
Yeah. Probably make a... I want to set them. That was not what I was looking for. Mhm. While I'm waiting for that search, any other questions coming in?
Doesn't look like it. Well, on the one hand, we do still have 14 minutes left. On the other, I can't believe we only have 14 minutes left already.
All right. Found it. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen.
Told you they always come up with something every time you do one of those searches.
All right, this is the script. Let me copy that one over. I can actually run it from here. This is something you can run on hybrid devices as well as Intune devices because it's still reported. So basically, in the same way that you can set data through these WMI providers, you can still just, I didn't mean to do that, you can still tap into them as well to get information. So Gary found out a way to parse this information nicely and just return it. So if I run this one here, it will show me all the policy settings, in this case for DO, directly from the MDM stack, what they currently are, etc. So, and of course you can do that for others when they are available. Not every single policy is available through this way, but a lot of them are, so quite handy. All right.
Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Sean is asking, will that show settings that are applied from the security tab too? So I assume that is the basically that screen that I was just showing.
Let's switch it back to your...
Yes, let's do that. So let me go. I got to hit back a few hundred times, it looks like. But so yes, in the case, it probably depends on the policy, but in the case of like I have my lapse config applied through the endpoint security page here, but it's really just a settings catalog setting under the hood. So here you can see, yes, I can click through and I can see that all of those different settings in my lapse policies are showing as succeeded. Separately, if you, let's see, BitLocker, AppBlocker, etc. He said, I don't know if I've got, do I have a specific BitLocker policy? I do not. But the other way to go through this is if you click on one of the policies, then you can go to device assignment status and you can see some more information about how that's being applied. Do you happen to have a BitLocker policy that's actually assigned, Johan? In the endpoint security section, at least? I do not have one. primarily because most of my lab is VMs and
Yes, I do.
so I wonder if you click on one of that one that's assigned.
This one is assigned to a group, and I can still see. I mean, this one will show up on the device configuration also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can go ahead and see assignment status on this one.
Yeah, I think pretty much any of these policies at this point will show up that way.
It's coming. It's Wednesday. Intune had a busy week, but
that's right.
Here are a couple of my devices. Yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Question over here on Twitter. We have seen feature upgrade in 24H2 ASR policy default to local.
Something I stumbled across, but that might very well be the case.
Yeah, nothing here either. And I don't have any of the ASR policies configured in my lab, surprisingly. Some homework for myself.
Oh, sorry. No good idea on that one.
Benny's asking Autopatch versus update rings. What is the best solution to stay patched on time but have certain control steps such as the time machines have updates installed, etc.? I mean, a little bit more control. Probably just your standard update rings configuring yourself. Autopatch has added more control over the last couple of years since it's been released. But it's really
request.
just...
Yeah.
What's that?
Per request, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would say still today, though, if you're not using Autopatch and you need or want a bit more control, probably just stick with configuring the update rings and feature update policies and everything on your own. But Autopatch continues to mature in that area. I don't know if you have anything to add on that, Johan.
Sure.
All right.
You're my go-to guy in terms of updates.
Diego's got a great question here. Do you happen to know if I need BitLocker recovery keys to wipe and reuse devices, or only if I need access to the data?
Depends. I mean, for example, when CrowdStrike hit the world last year, when we actually needed to get into the device and remove a file, if that device was BitLocker encrypted, since we needed to boot into WinRE or WinPE, whatever we did to access that device, that's also a case where you need the recovery key. And at that point, a lot of organizations found out they didn't have them. Mm-hmm. That was back to, all right, F12, boom.
Yep. But in that case, to that point, if you are just going to F12 or reimage with a task sequence or a USB drive or something like that, should be no real reason to have it, right? You're just going to wipe out.
Unless there's data you want to snatch beforehand.
Yeah.
Some folks, when they're reimaging, they actually have WinPE just looking into the device to grab some information like, okay, what computer name did you have? And they will use that and reuse that deployment, and they cannot. That was not me.
Nope, that was the slightest blip. I saw, oops, reconnecting, and then the screen went boop.
But anyhow, no, I mean, there are still scenarios where you may need the recovery key other than regular use cases. All right. Still have 5 more minutes. Any more questions?
hope nothing that came in, because when my browser reconnected, the chat got wiped out too.
Well, I was trying to keep an eye on it, so I don't think we have. But I do like to bring up this one here. Still a great event, but it's sold out here. But what I wanted to show you was this one here. Next week, we are running office hours on Tuesday, and like we did in earlier MMSs, we run it live from the conference.
And not just Tuesday at 5 p.m. instead of 4:30.
Yes, good point there. So I'm hoping you will be able to join us then, but just make a note that it's different day, different time. We'll try to ping you guys in social media before the event also, but those are always fun. Doing it from a live audience. You have pretty good attendance in those, so
yeah,
quite happy about that.
Yeah, very excited to do that again.
Yeah. All right then, but that's I don't see any more questions, so looks like we are 3 minutes. We get like 3 minutes back. Yay!
All right, we'll use it wisely.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Andrew. We see you guys next week on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, Johan. Thanks, everybody.